Hello, I'm Rebecca Flaherty, and this week I'm going to show you how to make this really pretty pattern in Procreate. You don't need to be able to draw to make this pattern. We're going to do the whole thing with simple filled shapes, a bit of clever maths, and the liquify tool. This is an intermediate level tutorial. If you know how repeat patterns work and are familiar with things like snapping, transforming, and the liquify tool in Procreate, this should be an easy tutorial to follow along with. If you're new to patterns or new to Procreate, you might find it a bit trickier, but you will be able to follow along step by step and do what I do and have an almost identical pattern to me at the end. I'm going to put all the measurements and dimensions in the description, and if you want to use the exact same colour palette as me, you can get that in the Pattern Maker's Toolkit over on my website. So let's get started. As always, I'm going to start with a 3600 pixel square canvas in sRGB at 300 dpi. I've got a preset for that already, so I'm going to tap on this one here. If you don't have a preset and you need to make a new one, you tap on this one here and put 3600 pixels for the width and height and 300 for the dpi. So I'm going to use my preset here. So the first thing I'm going to do is set my background color. I'm going to use this one here from this palette, which you can get over on my website, and set the background color. And then on this layer here, I'm going to fill this with my first colour, which is this orange one. So this tutorial is going to start off similar to a wavy checkerboard pattern we've already made, but we're going to do some slightly different things with it at the end to get the colour effects in there. So we're going to tap to transform on this layer, and we're going to tap up here. I've got bicubic for my interpolation method, and we're going to make the width and height of this box 600 pixels. So I'm going to duplicate this layer, tap to transform, and I'm going to snap this one to the corner of that one there. Duplicate again and snap this one to the middle of the canvas and to the corner of that. Duplicate again and bring this one, snap it to the middle of the canvas and the corner of that box. Duplicate again, and we can put one on the corner of that one, and we can snap this one to the corner of this box and the top of the canvas, looking out for your orange and your blue lines there, and then duplicate any of these again. And then if we've done all of these snap correctly, this one should snap to the edge there and the corner of that box. And then once we've got these two lines in place, go along and make sure that everything is looking properly tight there, and that all of these are snapped properly into place there. If any are looking slightly off, just go back to the beginning, make sure you've got snapping and magnetics on, and just re-put them in one by one, making sure you've got the lines intersecting to show they're snapping into the right place. Right, the next thing I need to do is to get these into some more organised lines. So I'm going to try and get all of the ones on top, actually on top. So there's this one, and then that one. So I'm going to group these together. So I've got my top three in one group, and then I'm going to group those bottom three together there. And then once you know that they're definitely in the right place, we can flatten each of these groups. I'm going to alpha lock them, and this top one is going to stay this orange colour. This next one I'm going to make this red colour. Then I'm going to duplicate this orange group and snap it down there. But I'm going to keep them in the layers panel. I'm going to try and keep them the same order they are on the canvas, so it's easier to keep track of where they are. I'm going to change the colour of this one to purple. Then the red one we can duplicate, and that's going to be at the bottom, and we can snap that down to there. And we'll make this one this kind of muddy yellowy brown colour. Then we can duplicate the purple group again, drag that down to the bottom, and make that pink. Tap to transform and snap it down to there. And then we'll duplicate this group, snap it down to the bottom there, and again just making sure that all of these squares are nicely butted up with each other. This one will drag down to the bottom, and fill this with the darkest purple colour. Then I'm going to put all of these in a group by swiping right on all of those and grouping them. So that's our basic checkerboard that we're going to be using. I'm going to duplicate this group and flatten it now and hide the layered version underneath. So we've got that to go back to if we decide we want to change the colours. On this group here, I'm going to tap to transform and I'm going to drag it halfway across the canvas until that says 1800 pixels, and it will snap into the middle there with your orange lines. Then we're going to duplicate that, snap it over into this corner here, and we can zoom in and make sure that this seam is all looking correct. Pinch those together, duplicate, tap to transform and snap it to the bottom, and just zoom in and make sure that this seam is looking okay too. Then we can pinch those two together. So now we're going to put some wave into this using the liquify tool. Before I do that though, I'm going to duplicate this layer and hide this one so that we've got an intact version to go back to if we want to drop back a step if we go wrong somewhere. So on this one that I've got showing, I'm going to go to my adjustments and tap the liquify tool. It's still alpha locked, so we're going to need to un-alpha lock that first, then we can tap on the liquify tool. So I'm going to set the size for this to 80%, and I've got the momentum set to none, distortion at none, and pressure at max. I'm going to use twirl right and just tap it in the middle there. And if you've watched the black and white checkerboard version of this, this part is going to be the same to start with. So we're going to duplicate this, drag one copy over to this edge, and snap the other copy over to this edge. Then we can pinch this together. Go to our liquify tool again, and again with twirl right in the same settings, we're going to rotate this one there in the middle. Then we can duplicate this layer again, and we want to work on these edges now, so we can tap and bring that one and snap it down to the bottom, and then snap this one to that edge, pinch them together, go to our liquify and just rotate that one a little bit there in the middle. Duplicate, snap it to these edges, and then we're going to go to liquify again and work on this one in the middle. So now we've got kind of like these smaller boxes here with the middles of them rotated. What I want to do is offset this canvas by a quarter so I can have this part be in the middle, and then we can rotate those as well. So to do that, I'm going to add a layer underneath, just get a contrasting colour, and I'm going to fill a layer underneath with this colour. Then I'm going to tap to transform and I'm going to snap this filled layer halfway across the canvas, tap to transform again, and then I'm going to bring it into the middle. So I've got this half canvas width piece here, so this is 1800 pixels wide and 3600 pixels high. I'm going to center that in the canvas. So now I can grab this layer, duplicate it, and I'm going to hide one of these so you can see what I'm doing. And with this one, I'm going to snap it to the edge of this box here. Then I'm going to turn the other layer on, and I'm going to snap this to the edge there. So what we've done is shifted that across 900 pixels. Then we can pinch those two together once we've zoomed in and made sure that everything is lining up nicely on here and we've got no gaps there. So we can pinch those together now. Then this black layer, we're going to tap to transform and we're going to rotate it 45 degrees twice. So now it's round that way. This layer here, I'm going to duplicate it. So we'll hide the top one, and this bottom one, we're going to tap to transform and snap it to the edge of that box there. Then this top one, we can re-show that one, tap to transform, and we're going to snap this to the edge of that box, and then zoom in and make sure we've got this lined up properly. We don't want to see any gaps in there. That's looking okay. So we can hide this marker box now, pinch those together, and now we've got this straight edge in the middle. So we can go to our liquify tool, and I'm going to change it to twirl left now, and I'm going to give this a little rotate in the middle, and then we're going to do the same thing, bringing these edges into the middle. So duplicate, tap to transform, bring this to the edges, pinch those together, liquefy, give that a little rotate. And now we want to bring the top and bottom edge to the middle. So duplicate this, drag one to the bottom and one to the top, pinch them together, go to liquefy, give that a little rotate in the middle, duplicate, and then we're going to bring these edges into the middle. And then this is the last liquefy that we do on that bit there. So now all of this canvas is all fully wavy and we are almost finished with this pattern. So that kind of looks cool as it is. You could export that and use that as your repeating pattern if you wanted to. So I want to show you a cool trick now to play with the colours slightly on this. So I'm going to swipe down with 3 fingers and I'm going to copy all. I'm going to swipe down again and tap paste. So now we've got a flattened version of everything here on the top. I'm going to duplicate this layer. So I'm going to tap to transform on this one and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. So we'll tap rotate 45 degrees twice. And then I'm going to tap on this N, which it stands for normal in the blend mode. And we're going to change the blend mode to soft light. And then you get this really cool two-tone effect with the colours overlapping in there. You could play with the blend modes and choose any blend mode you like. You don't have to use soft light, you might prefer one of the other ones. So this is with multiply. Linear burn can look quite cool. Overlay can give some interesting results, especially if you tap on this top one and invert the colours on that. You can get some other cool effects on there. Just undo that and take it back to soft light because that's the one I want to use. So that will be our pattern tile that we could export. I'm going to swipe down with 3 fingers, tap copy all, swipe down again and tap paste, and then we'll put this in repeat and see how that's looking. So doing the same thing as before, making it a quarter of a canvas and then snapping it into each of the corners. And there we go, that's that cool wavy colourful geometric pattern there. I hope you've had fun watching this tutorial. If you want to see more from me, don't forget to subscribe here on YouTube for pattern tutorials like this every week. And if you want more in-depth courses from me, you can find those over on Skillshare. If you're not already on Skillshare and you sign up using the link below, you'll get 30 days for free. Have fun, stay creative, and I will see you next time.